Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube Live. And today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Merriest Moments stamp set. And it's actually the stamp set bundle. So it's a pretty simple little card, but I did use some of the pretty new Ever Eden Designer Series paper that will be available for customers to order beginning on, it's the November 2nd. And I keep getting the date wrong on that. I keep saying the 3rd, and I know that's not right. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I made this. And sorry for continuing to move the little paper around here. I'm trying to get it so that it's centered and doesn't look too wonky and crazy. It's still a little wonky, but hopefully we'll get it straight. Okay, so this is the card we're going to be making. And the Designer Series paper definitely is not one of those that is specific for Christmas. It actually can be used for almost anything, but I thought the colors in it with a little bit of gold touches, I thought it was perfect for Christmas. So I figured I'd put together a Christmas card with it. So hey, Jeannie, thanks for hopping in from Delaware. Hope you're having a good day. A couple of things that I used on it is the Merriest Moments stamp set bundle. This actually is a 3-part bundle. So we've got the stamp set, which is definitely one of those good ones. It's very pretty. And then we have the die set that coordinates with it. And there's actually a hybrid embossing folder that cuts and embosses at the same time. That's also part of this bundle. I didn't use that today. I just used some of the dies in the stamp set. So I didn't bring out my embossing folder, but it's definitely a really good bundle. So if you don't have this one, you need it. All right. Hey, Karen and Barbara and Bree, thanks for hopping in. I'm glad you're here as well. Okay, so let me set that aside. A couple other things that I used on here. I used the Hippo and Friends dies, and I used the largest of the, I think this is octagon, isn't it? Yeah, it's got 8 sides on it, so octagon. I used the largest one of those to cut out a little piece on the background here. And then, of course, one of my other favorite die sets, I used this one that's sort of the, I don't know, rounded rectangle is what I like to call it. Kind of the rounded rectangle die from the Tasteful Labels dies. So those are the dies that I used in this project. And I think, oh, and one other thing, I did use the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack, which hopefully you can see it on here. There's just a little bit of one of the gold die cuts in here. So that is where that came from, is that ephemera pack. So that is a good one as well. Hey, Bonnie, thanks for hopping in. Took a late lunch so you could catch me live. Oh, that's awesome. Hopefully, hopefully you like the card and you'll find it worth hanging out and taking a late lunch. So hi, Margaret and Jean. Thanks for joining. And Karen is here as well. So good to see you all. All right, so that is the card we're going to be making. A couple things before I get going. I do still have my envelope and gift packaging stock up ordering bonus going on through the 25th of October, which is Monday. And so for every order that you place through me that's $50 or greater, you're going to get to pick a free additional gift. In addition to your free $10 gift that you normally get, you're also going to get either a pack of card bases and envelopes, or pack of envelopes, or gift packaging. It's all, the details are out on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com, and it'll be in the blog post with this card as well, so you can check out the details there. And let me know if you have any questions on that. So, hey, Shelly, thanks for joining. And speaking of the Ever Eden Designer Series paper, this is from the Eden's Garden product collection that will be available for customers to order beginning on November 2nd. So it's a beautiful, beautiful set of products. Again, the details will be posted on my blog tomorrow. I'll link up to this little flyer so you can take a closer look at it. But it has got a stamp set with it. Now, obviously, I used a different stamp set because I wanted it to be Christmas themed, and the stamp set is not. And there's a set of dies that coordinate with it. So a very pretty bundle that you can get. And then there's this amazing paper. It's just so pretty. And in one of my previous videos, I did go through and show you the whole pack of paper, but it's beautiful. So trust me, you're going to want it. And then we've got the Ever Eden cotton paper that is sort of like a tissue paper kind of feel to it. And then we've got the Garden Gems, which we actually are going to be using today. So they're very, very pretty. Mine just came in. And these are considered cherry cobbler. And to me, I can sort of see the cherry cobbler in it, but I think that would definitely go with any of the greens that you use as well. And then these are soft succulent. All right, so those are the gems, and you can get the stamp set, you can get just the die set, you can get just the papers, you can get just the gems, or you can do everything as a whole big collection beginning on the 2nd. So it depends on how you want to order it, but you can definitely get all of it. So hey, Nyoka, thanks for joining today. So again, just let me know if you have questions on that. I'll be posting the details with this card on my blog tomorrow, and I will link up to the blog post tomorrow as soon as it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So if you have questions or want to come back and take a closer look at the card and that type of thing, you can definitely check it out on my blog tomorrow. And again, I'll just link it up in the description of this video so you'll be able to find it right there. So first things first, just adding a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to the front of an Evening Evergreen, and I won't call it Ever Eden, not that I have that stuck in my head, Evening Evergreen card base. And then this is the Ever Eden Designer Series paper, and as you can see, it's beautiful shades of green and a little gold on this side. The back side of all papers is a little bit more of a neutral, kind of a background-y type paper. And I'm just going to adhere the two of these together with the liquid glue. And I usually do liquid glue on card fronts, on things like this where I need to make sure that things are lined up and need a little bit of wiggle time with it to make sure everything is straight. So I generally tend to use the liquid glue for things like that. Other things I tend to use the seal adhesive just because it's a lot less messy, and I'm kind of, I don't know, liquid glue and I don't always see eye to eye, and it's just because I use too much of it. So, all right, so this is a piece again of the Ever Eden Designer Series paper that again is going to be available beginning on November 2nd. This is one of the kind of back sides of it, so not the gold panels. On the other side of it, this is what it looks like. So this has got the gold foiling on it, but I was going for a little more neutral, being over here in the corner. I didn't want to have gold on top of gold, so I went with the gold side down, which sometimes it kind of, you know, I don't love putting the pretty side down, but I thought it worked a little bit better with the card that I was doing today. All right, I'm going to take this and just adhere it over here in the corner. And again, no specific placement or, you know, exact measurement. Don't need to worry about that on it. Just kind of put it over to the left-hand side. Next up, we're going to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to start with the sentiment just because that is heat embossed. And sometimes heat embossing, if you get a little messy with your embossing powders, which I often do, it sticks to everything that's stamped. And you don't necessarily want it stuck to everything that's stamped. You only want it stuck to the sentiment. So the sentiment, again, is from the Merriest Moments stamp set, which is in the current mini catalog. So it's in the July to December mini catalog. And I'm using Versamark ink and just stamping the image, which I know you can't see, but you'll be able to see it in 1 second here. And I've got gold embossing powder from the Metallics embossing powder set. And just going to get a little spoonful of that, and we're going to sprinkle it over the sentiment that I've got stamped here. And then give the paper a little smack on the top of it so that we get some of the extra powder off. And whoop, I need to add a little bit more there. All right, come on, there we go, that's better. All right, so I've got the embossing powder on there. I'm going to grab my heat tool and turn that on. So the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, if you've seen me do one of these before, you've heard it 1,000 times, but Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings on it. There's a level 1 setting for drying, so if you want to do watercoloring or something like that, and want your paper to dry a little faster, or you're using one of the kind of thicker inks and need to speed up the drying time a little bit, you can use the level 1 setting. Level 2 setting is for heat embossing, so it gets hotter and will actually emboss. So I'm going to give it a second here and wait for it to start turning. There we go. So you can see it turns shiny and smooth. And you want to keep the heat tool moving once it starts turning like that so you don't accidentally burn your embossing powder. And been there and done that, and it's not very pretty when it turns all matte and kind of black and yucky looking. So, all right, so we've got our sentiment done here. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp some of the images here as well that we're going to need for the card. So I've got cherry cobbler ink and a couple of the poinsettia image. Woohoo! All right, already throwing things around. Thank goodness it wasn't inked, because that's normally when I drop them. So got the poinsettia images here. And I'm stamping it in cherry cobbler ink. And again, these are from the Merriest Moments stamp set. Again, just going to do the second one here. Same thing, cherry cobbler ink. All right. And then I'm going to close up that so that I hopefully won't stick my fingers in it. Then I've got Bumblebee ink, and this is just the little flower center image from the Merriest Moments stamp set. And just going to ink up the little flower center and come over here and hopefully stamp it somewhat in the center of the flower, which I think I got it actually pretty close. Sometimes I do, and sometimes it's a little off. If you do end up stamping it and it ends up looking a little crazy, not quite where you want it to be, just ink it a second time and stamp it again, and there'll just be more dots. It's all good. Again, just the little tricks you learn after you mess up enough things. All right, so I've got soft succulent ink here that I'm going to be using. The colors in that designer paper pack are Evening Evergreen, soft succulent, and white and gold, I guess, is in there as well. So if you were wondering about that, yep, those are the colors in it, and that's actually, you know, right where I pulled these from. And the cherry cobbler is just the added bonus that it works with Christmas colors, and that's what color the gems are from it, so I thought they worked well together. So 2 of those in soft succulent ink, and then I've got Evening Evergreen ink, and we are gonna stamp 2 of the little branch images here in between. And if I think I said Evening Evergreen ink. If I didn't, that's what it is. So you can't stamp one-handed, Karen? Aw. You can't? Yes, you can. So, all right. So now I'm going to start pulling out some of the dies. And the die for the sentiment that I used is this one from the Tasteful Labels die. So I'm going to run that through. And I'm going to try to do this through, hopefully with just 2 passes, but I don't know, it may take me more than that. And then I've got the dies from the Merriest Moments, hopefully. There we go. So we're going to cut that one out. And then same thing on this one, where you're going to spin it around here till I figure out which one of these goes with it. I know what it's one of, there we go. And then we've got the 2 greenery dies, and I'm just going to, again, use those dies to cut out these images. And again, like I said, I'm going to try to get it through on 2 passes. It may take me more, depending on, sometimes the dies have a mind of their own and want to move around, and then I pull a few of them off and they seem to behave themselves a little better. So my die cutting machine is off to my right, so I'm going to be off screen for a second while I die cut everything. Hopefully you are having a good Friday. It's another beautiful day here in New Jersey. I can't complain about the weather at all. We've had some nice fall days. It's definitely starting to cool off, but still not cold enough that you really need a jacket outside. And, whoop, come on. Need to get my Post-it note tape out. Whoop, I had them set, and then one of them wiggled. Eek. Let me try it again. All right, so it may take me 3 passes to get these through. So, oh, thanks, Melanie. It's a good set of dies, good set of stamps, pretty images. All right, and then that paper is just beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful. If you haven't seen it, weren't interested, you really need to get it because you're going to love it and you'll be sad if you miss out. So, all right, so let me get this die and get my paper back over here. I've got a couple more little die cuts to chop out here. Hopefully the dies will cooperate and not jump all over the place. Sometimes I get lucky and run them all through at once. Sometimes not so much. And all right. And then I move both of them at the same time. I really should get my Post-it notes out. So some days are better than others with the die cutting, and it always seems like when I'm trying to, hurry a little bit, that's when the dies want to slide all over the place. So, yeah, I'm glad that you like that paper too. It is beautiful. You're gonna have fun stamping with it. It's so pretty. So, all right, got a couple more dies done, and then I've got the one last one to cut out here, and then we'll be done with the fiddly part of this. And it's just putting everything together. And I tried to keep it pretty simple, just because I think the paper kind of does an awful lot in the background of this one. So, Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have a paper sale this fall or not. It just kind of depends. I mean, they just had the stamp set sale, so I suspect if they are gonna do it, it might be a minute. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. But definitely, as soon as I do, I will let you know. But hopefully, we'll have a paper sale this fall. All right. Oh, you've got the new stuff. So that must be the stuff from the onstage. This one actually doesn't have bees in it. It's just got the pretty gold foiling in it and lots of kind of greenery and foliage type images in it. So, all right, so I'm going to flip this over and we're going to stick it here on the card front. I started with the sentiment just because the flower I sort of wanted to build around the sentiment. So I needed to know where that was going to land before I could put my flower on. So I've got the 2 flower pieces and got a mini glue dot here, and I'm just going to stick one to the back of the smaller flower die cut and stick that. I don't know that there's any special way that these two need to be there together. Just put it together however you think it looks pretty. That's kind of how I do it. And then I'm going to take Stampin' Dimensionals and put these are little half ones that I chop up. So I'm going to put 2 of them here in the center on the back. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to layer it right over the edge of the sentiment. And my sentiment must be, I think it's just a wee little bit further over that way in my sample card, but that's okay. We'll build this one this way. Then I'm going to grab my glue dots and start sticking down some of these die cuts that I've got here. So I have got, this one is one of the Evening Evergreen die cuts. I'm going to take that one and sort of tuck it down here. And then I'm going to take one of the soft succulent ones and again, just glue dot it and slide it underneath the flower that I've got stamped and already on the card front. And then the final little one that goes in here is this piece, which is from the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack, and it's gold foiled, and there are a whole pile of gold foil die cuts in that pack. So if you don't have that one, that's another really good one, and you definitely will want to get it. It's got some really pretty die cuts, some really pretty frames in it, so a good one as well. I'm going to take this one and sort of, maybe I'll tuck it. I was trying to think if I probably should tuck it underneath this one. So I may pull this one out a second and then tuck this one in. That's why I usually try not to smash down the glue dots until I know where everything is going to end up, because sometimes I do what I just did and change my mind about how I want things to be layered. So, all right, so I'm going to take this one and then tuck it back in over the top. And now I'm going to smoosh it down and make sure everything is stuck down well. Then I'm going to grab the last couple little die cuts here and adhere those underneath the flower on this side. And if you're doing what I'm doing and you think this is not quite the right placement for it, it's too far out, you can grab your paper snips and just trim off the bottom of the little image, and then you can tuck it further up underneath your flower before you hit the Stampin' Dimensionals, that's what I was hitting. What I was trying to slide it in there, it wouldn't go any further because there was a Stampin' Dimensional in the way. And I suspect this one is going to be the same thing, so I'm going to trim it off and try to get it done before I slide it underneath the first time, but I can always trim it down more if I decide that it's still not the right placement or where I want it exactly, but I think that one's going to work just like that. All right, so I have got the Garden Gems, which again are part of the Eden's Garden suite. And these are the cherry cobbler ones. They're the little, just like a standard rhinestone shape. And there are some that are a little bit larger, some that are a little bit smaller. And then we have these that are, I know there's a name for that. Diamond isn't the right shape. Right name for it, but somebody will probably post it on here. But I know there's a name for that specific shape, and I'm trying to come up with what it is. And of course, my brain doesn't always work well when I'm trying to think on the fly. So, but if you know what the name of that shape is, let me know. Like I said, I know diamond is not right. And that's what I want to call it, is diamond. So, all right, so I've got one of the larger ones I tucked in up here, one of the smaller ones down near the bottom, and then one of the other larger ones that I'm going to tuck in right here. And that's going to be it for the card front. So, marquee, that I knew. Yes, I knew there was a word for it. I'm like, oh, diamond. So, all right, so that's it for the card front. Again, super simple. Most of the work is really done by the Designer Series paper, and I just added a few little stamped images and a sentiment, and it's all done and good to go for Christmas. Couple things on the inside of the card. I've got basic white cardstock. This one's cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and I probably totally forgot to say the measurements. The Evening Evergreen is 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. This will also work with your standard issue book fold card. So the 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. It's the same exact card base or card front, just a different opening on the card base. So either way it'll work. Then we've got Evening Evergreen ink and one of the sentiments from the Merriest Moments stamp set. And of course, I'm going to try to stamp it as straight as I can. But it's always a little challenging with the camera in between me and what I'm stamping. So hopefully I stamped it reasonably straight and somewhat centered. And then I just trimmed a little piece. This is the little piece that I trimmed off the bottom of this designer paper. And I'm just going to stick it down on the bottom and we're going to be all done. So I'll catch in the end of it. Well, you can always hop in and, go back to the beginning if you really want to watch it. But the blog post will be out tomorrow, so you can take a peek at that as well. So, and thank you very much, Kelly. I appreciate that. So, and no problem. You can, like I said, you can always go back and catch the replay. So, super easy. It'll be up in a second as soon as I quit yapping and get things turned in here. So, all right. So again, this is cut to about 1/2 inch, and it's about 4 1/4 long. But I'm just going to trim off the excess here. And just adhere it with a little stamp and seal. And then we're going to adhere it to the inside of the card base. And we'll be all done with the card today. All right. All right, that's it. Super easy. I told you it was going to be a simple card, so yay, I'm glad about that. And like I said, I love this paper. Again, it's the Ever Eden paper, and it's part of the Eden's Garden product suite, and I've got dimensionals stuck on my sleeve. So it's part of the Eden's Garden product suite that'll be available beginning on November 2nd. One thing to know, or a couple things to know, the designer series paper, the green, the 2 shades of green cotton paper, and the gems are only while supplies last. The stamp set bundle for the Eden's Garden suite, the stamp set dies are going to be carrying forward into the next mini catalog. So if you are interested in all of it, great. If you really, really love the paper and the gems, make sure you get those ordered quickly because they're only while supplies last. Again, starting on November 2nd, you'll be able to get these. So thanks so much for joining. Thanks for all the kind comments on my card. I appreciate you all being here and spending part of your Friday with me. Again, thanks for hopping in, saying hello, and all of your sweet comments, and we will be checking in. I will be doing another live out on my Facebook page around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Tuesday, and then I'll plan to be back out here on YouTube live around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Friday. So have a fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll chat soon.